The safe door hung open like a broken jaw, revealing nothing but shadows where light should have danced off gold and gemstones. Natasha Bennett stood frozen in the doorway of her bedroom closet, her heart hammering so hard she could hear it in her ears. The small fireproof safe her grandmother Ruth had given her, the one that held every piece of jewelry Ruth had carefully collected and passed down, was completely empty. Not a single earring. Not one bracelet. Not even the velvet boxes remained. "No," Natasha whispered, the word barely escaping her throat. She dropped to her knees, running her hands along the cold metal interior as if her fingers might find what her eyes could not. No, no, no. 5 years of memories. 5 years of carefully preserving her grandmother's legacy. The ruby ring Ruth wore on her wedding day. The gold locket with photos of Natasha as a baby. The pearl necklace Ruth saved for 3 years to buy herself after Natasha's grandfather died. The diamond studs Ruth wore to church every Sunday for 40 years. The emerald bracelet passed down from Ruth's own mother. The sapphire pendant Ruth gave Natasha the day she graduated college, crying as she fastened it around her granddaughter's neck. All of it, gone. Natasha's hands trembled as she pulled out her phone, her fingers clumsy as she dialed David's number. It rang once, twice, 3 times. "Hey babe, what's up?" David's voice was casual, easy, normal. Like the world hadn't just collapsed. "David." Her voice cracked. "David, where are you?" "At Mom's." She needed help moving some boxes. "What? You okay?" "At Mom's." "Patricia." Of course he was. "Come home. Right now." "Nat, I'm in the middle of..." "Right now, David." The scream tore from her throat before she could stop it. "Get home right now." The line went silent for a beat. Okay, I'm coming." 20 minutes. Natasha sat on the floor of her closet for those 20 minutes, staring at the empty safe. She thought about the day Grandma Ruth had called her over, 2 months before the cancer took her. Ruth had been so small by then, her rich brown skin paper thin, her hands shaking as she placed each piece of jewelry in Natasha's hands. "This is who we are, baby girl," Ruth had said, her voice weak but fierce. "Every piece tells a story. My mama's mama wore these pearls when she married a free man in 1889. This ring your grandfather gave me, this when we had nothing but love and a dream. This locket that's you as a baby, my greatest joy. Don't you ever let anyone tell you these don't matter. They're not just pretty things. They're proof we were here. Proof we loved. Proof we survived." Natasha had cried that day, knowing it was goodbye. Ruth had pressed the safe into her hands, along with a handwritten list of every piece, every story, every memory. "Keep them safe," Ruth had whispered. "Pass them to your daughter someday. Let her know where she comes from." Natasha heard the front door open. David's footsteps on the stairs, quick and worried. "Nat? Natasha, where are you?" "Closet," she managed. He appeared in the doorway, his brown skin flushed from rushing, concern written across his face. Then he saw the safe. His expression shifted just for a second from confusion to something else. Something that looked almost like guilt. That tiny flash told Natasha everything. "You know," she said quietly, standing up on shaking legs. "You know where my jewelry is." "Nat, where is it?" The words exploded from her, primal and raw. "Where is my grandmother's jewelry? Where are the pieces she trusted me with? Where is everything she left me?" David's jaw worked, his eyes darting away. "Mom needed..." "Mom?" Natasha's voice dropped to something dangerous. "Your mother needed what, David? Needed to steal from me? Needed to take the only things I have left of the woman who raised me? It's not like that. She didn't steal anything. She needed to borrow some pieces for cousin Jennifer's wedding, and she said..." "She said what?" Natasha stepped closer, her whole body trembling. "She went into my safe? Into my safe, David? How did she even..." The realization hit like ice water. "You gave her the combination." David's silence was answer enough. "Get out," Natasha whispered. "Nat, if you just let me explain. Get out." She shoved him, her palms against his chest, putting all her rage and heartbreak into it. "Get out of my sight. Get out of this house. This is my house too. Then I'll leave." She was grabbing her purse, her keys, not thinking, just moving. "I can't even look at you right now. I can't breathe in here." She pushed past him, down the stairs, hearing him calling after her but not processing the words. She made it to her car, started the engine with shaking hands, and pulled out of the driveway without looking back. She drove without direction, tears blurring her vision, until she found herself parked outside Simone's apartment building. Her best friend since college, the only person who understood what Grandma Ruth meant to her. Simone answered the door in pajamas, took one look at Natasha's face and pulled her inside. What happened? Natasha collapsed on the couch and told her everything. The empty safe. David's confession. Patricia's name falling from his lips like it was nothing. Like her grandmother's legacy was nothing. That woman has hated me from day one, Natasha said, her voice hoarse from crying. She never thought I was good enough for her precious son. She wanted him to marry someone from their church, someone she picked. And now she's taken the only thing I have left of Grandma Ruth. Simone sat beside her, one hand on Natasha's shoulder, her face tight with anger. Do you know what she did with the pieces? David said she borrowed them. Borrowed? Like they're hers to loan out. Natasha. Simone's voice was careful, controlled. She worked as a paralegal at a family law firm, and Natasha could see her mind already working. Those pieces are your separate property. They were inherited before your marriage. If Patricia took them without permission, that's theft. That's conversion of property. She's his mother. I don't care if she's the Queen of England. She stole from you. Simone grabbed her phone. We're documenting everything. Do you have photos of the pieces? Ruth gave me a written inventory. With photos. It's in my file cabinet at home. We need that. We need it tonight. Natasha closed her eyes, exhausted and sick. I don't want to go back there. Then David can bring it to you. Call him. Tell him to meet you somewhere public with that file, or you're calling the police. The thought of involving police, of making this public, made Natasha's stomach turn. But the alternative, letting Patricia get away with this, letting David think his mother could just take what wasn't hers, that was worse. She picked up her phone and typed out a text to David. Meet me at the Grind coffee shop on 5th Street in 1 hour. Bring Grandma Ruth's jewelry inventory file from my office cabinet. If you're not there, I'm filing a police report. His response came fast. Okay. I'm sorry. Please let me explain. Natasha didn't reply. She went to Simone's bathroom and stared at herself in the mirror. Her brown eyes were swollen from crying. Her natural curls were wild, pulled half out of the neat bun she'd worn to work that morning. She looked destroyed. But underneath the devastation, something else was building. Something hot and sharp and unbreakable. They'd taken from her. Her husband and his mother had conspired to steal pieces of her soul, pieces of the woman who'd raised her when her own parents couldn't. They treated her grandmother's legacy like borrowed costume jewelry for a wedding. Natasha splashed cold water on her face and straightened her shoulders. They were about to learn exactly who Natasha Bennett was. And more importantly, exactly who Ruth's granddaughter could become when pushed too far. The Grind was nearly empty at 8:30 on a Thursday night. Just the barista wiping down counters and a college student hunched over a laptop in the corner. Natasha sat at a table by the window, Simone beside her, both nursing cups of coffee they hadn't touched. David walked in exactly on time, clutching a manila folder against his chest like a shield. His eyes found Natasha's, and she saw something she'd never seen in 5 years of marriage: real fear. Good, she thought. You should be afraid. He slid into the chair across from her, glancing nervously at Simone. Does she need to be here? Yes, Natasha said flatly. She's a witness. And my friend. The folder. David set it on the table but kept his hand on it. Nat, before you look at this, I need you to understand. Move your hand, David. He did slowly. Natasha pulled the folder toward her and opened it. Inside was Grandma Ruth's handwriting, shaky but careful, listing every piece. Beside each description was a small photo Ruth had taken of Natasha wearing the piece, dating back over 5 years. Ruby ring, wedding band, 1962. Photo, Natasha's graduation. Gold locket, engraved RH, 1985. Photo, Natasha's birthday, 2019. Pearl necklace, purchased 1995. Photo, Christmas 2020. Diamond stud earrings, Ruth's Sunday jewelry, 1975. Photo, Natasha at church. Emerald bracelet, Ruth's mother, 1940s. Photo, Natasha's wedding day. Sapphire pendant, college graduation gift, 2015. Photo, graduation ceremony. 15 pieces total. Each one documented. Each one irreplaceable. Natasha's hands shook as she looked at the photos of herself, younger and smiling, wearing pieces of her history. She could barely breathe around the grief lodged in her throat. When? She asked quietly. When did you give your mother the combination to my safe? David's voice was small. 3 weeks ago. 3 weeks. Patricia had been planning this for 3 weeks. Why? She called me crying. Said cousin Jennifer's wedding was coming up and she didn't have nice enough jewelry to wear to the rehearsal dinner and the ceremony. Said she'd always admired your pieces and knew Ruth wouldn't mind family borrowing them. David rubbed his face. She said she'd return everything after the wedding. She promised. Jennifer's wedding was last weekend, Simone said, her voice sharp. Where are the pieces now? David's silence stretched too long. David. Natasha leaned forward, her voice deadly calm. Where is my grandmother's jewelry right now? Mom said. He stopped, swallowed hard. She said she gave some pieces to Jennifer as wedding gifts, and she let Aunt Carol borrow the pearl necklace for some event. And she kept a few pieces because she said they suited her better than they suited you. The coffee shop went silent. Even the barista had stopped moving. She gave away my inheritance, Natasha said slowly, each word precise. She gave away jewelry that belonged to my grandmother, to her granddaughter. And she kept some for herself because they suited her better. Nat, I swear I didn't know she was going to. You gave her the combination to my safe. Natasha's voice cracked. You let her into our home, into our bedroom, into my private space, and you gave her access to the only things I have left of the woman who raised me. The woman who loved me when nobody else did. Your parents love you. My parents weren't there. The words ripped out of her. They were too busy with their careers to raise their own kids. Ruth took me in. Ruth made sure I ate dinner every night. Ruth helped me with homework. Ruth taught me who I was and where I came from. And you let your mother steal her legacy like it meant nothing. David's eyes were wet. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I'll get them back. I'll make her give everything back. You think it's that simple? Simone cut in. Your mother distributed stolen property. She gave away items that didn't belong to her. Even if you get some pieces back, the chain of custody is broken. Who knows what condition they're in? Who knows if we'll even get everything back? Then what do we do? David looked between them, desperate. Natasha closed the folder carefully, holding it against her chest like the precious thing it was. I'm going to see your mother. Tomorrow. And she's going to tell me exactly where every single piece went. Nat, she's not going to just. I don't care what she wants to do. She's going to tell me or I'm filing a police report for theft. Natasha stood up. You can come with me or not. But I'm getting my grandmother's jewelry back. All of it. She walked out of the coffee shop without looking back. Simone caught up with her at the car. You're not going alone, Simone said firmly. And before you confront Patricia, we're talking to my boss. Rebecca handles property disputes. She'll know exactly what your options are. Natasha nodded, too drained to argue. She let Simone drive her back to the apartment, let her friend tuck her into the guest bed like a child. But sleep didn't come. She lay in the dark, thinking about Ruth's hands placing each piece of jewelry in her palms. Thinking about the stories behind every item. Thinking about Patricia's entitled face, probably admiring herself in Ruth's ruby ring right now. By the time sunlight crept through the curtains, Natasha had cried herself empty. But emptiness left room for something else. Clarity. Purpose. Steel. Patricia Bennett had taken the wrong thing from the wrong woman. And tomorrow she would start learning exactly what that mistake would cost her. Rebecca Cross's office smelled like leather and coffee. The attorney sat behind her desk, reading Ruth's inventory with a careful eye. She was a petite black woman with gray-streaked locks and glasses perched on her nose, her expression serious as she studied each photo. Natasha sat across from her, Simone beside her. David had called 6 times that morning. Natasha hadn't answered. This documentation is excellent, Rebecca said finally. Your grandmother was thorough. Photos, descriptions, approximate values, provenance for the older pieces. This is more than most people have. What can we do? Natasha asked. Her voice was steady now. She'd cried all night. There were no tears left, just determination. Several things. First, legally speaking, these items are your separate property. They were inherited before your marriage, which means they belong solely to you. Your mother-in-law had no legal right to take them, regardless of what your husband may have told her. He gave her the combination, Natasha said quietly. Rebecca's eyebrows rose. That complicates his position but doesn't change hers. She still committed theft and conversion of property. The fact that some items were given away to third parties makes this more complex, but not impossible. What's the best way to handle this? That depends on what you want. If you want a criminal case, you file a police report for theft. The DA decides whether to prosecute. If you want a civil case, you sue for conversion and demand return of the property or its value. Or Rebecca leaned forward. We send a formal legal demand letter first. Sometimes that's enough to scare people into returning what they took. Patricia doesn't scare easy, Simone muttered. Maybe not. But her family members might. Jennifer and Carol received stolen property. They might not have known at the time, but they know now. If they refuse to return the items, they become liable too. Rebecca pulled out a legal pad. Let's make a list. I need to know exactly who has what. Natasha took a deep breath. David said Jennifer got some pieces as wedding gifts. He didn't say which ones. Carol has the pearl necklace. And Patricia kept several pieces for herself. We need specifics. Every piece, every person. Rebecca tapped her pen against the pad. I'm going to draft a demand letter, but before I send it, you need to have a conversation with Patricia. Document everything she says. Record it if possible. Virginia is a one-party consent state, so you can legally record conversations you're part of. Get her to admit exactly what she took and where it went. The thought of facing Patricia made Natasha's stomach twist. But she'd come too far to back down now. When should I do this? Today if possible. The longer we wait, the easier it is for items to disappear or get sold. People panic when they realize there are legal consequences. Rebecca's expression softened. I know this is family. I know it's painful. But Natasha, your grandmother trusted you with her legacy. You owe it to her to fight for it. Those words settled into Natasha's chest like truth. She left Rebecca's office with Simone, clutching a copy of the inventory and a small recording device Rebecca had given her. The plan was simple. Go to Patricia's house, demand to know where everything was, record the conversation, and leave. But nothing with Patricia was ever simple. Natasha drove to the large colonial house in the suburbs where David had grown up. Patricia's car sat in the driveway along with David's. Of course he'd warned his mother. Of course he'd run straight to her. You want me to come in? Simone asked. No. This is something I need to do myself. Natasha checked that the recording device was on, tucked in her jacket pocket. But stay close. If I'm not out in 30 minutes, come get me. She walked up the pristine front path, past Patricia's perfect flower beds, and rang the doorbell. Through the frosted glass she saw movement. Then the door opened. Patricia stood there in a cream pantsuit, her straightened hair perfect, her makeup flawless. And around her neck, catching the afternoon light, was Ruth's sapphire pendant. Natasha's vision went red. Natasha. Patricia's voice was cool, controlled. David said you might stop by. Please come in. Natasha forced herself to step inside, forced herself not to rip the necklace off Patricia's throat. She followed her mother-in-law into the formal living room where David sat on the couch, looking miserable. David told me you're upset about the jewelry, Patricia said, settling into her chair like a queen on a throne. I understand that, but you have to see it from my perspective. Your perspective? Natasha remained standing, her hands clenched at her sides. What perspective is that exactly? When David married you, you became part of this family. What's yours became ours. That's how marriage works. Patricia smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. Your grandmother's jewelry is lovely, and I thought it was selfish of you to keep it all locked away in a safe. Jewelry should be worn, shared, celebrated. That jewelry was my inheritance. It belonged to my grandmother, and she left it to me. And you're married to my son, which makes you a Bennett. Those pieces should be shared among Bennett women. Patricia touched the sapphire at her throat. This necklace, for instance. It looks much better on me than it ever did on you. Ruth had good taste, I'll give her that. Something in Natasha snapped. Take off. Excuse me? Take off my grandmother's necklace. Right now. Patricia's eyes narrowed. I don't think I will. David gave me access to your safe because he knew I'd appreciate these pieces properly. You were wasting them. Mom, David said quietly. Maybe you should give her the necklace back. Stay out of this, David. This is between women. Patricia stood up, crossing her arms. Natasha, you need to learn your place in this family. I tried to be patient with you. I tried to overlook your background, your upbringing, the fact that you come from nothing. But this attitude of yours is unacceptable. My background? Natasha's voice was ice. My background is a grandmother who worked 2 jobs to put food on the table. A grandmother who saved every penny to buy beautiful things that meant something. A grandmother who taught me dignity and self-respect. What's your background, Patricia? A trust fund and a superiority complex. Patricia's face flushed. How dare you speak to me that way in my own home? How dare you steal from me? How dare you take things that didn't belong to you and give them away like party favors? Natasha pulled out her phone, showing Patricia the inventory. I want to know exactly where every piece went. Jennifer has which items? What did Carol take? What else are you wearing that's mine? I don't have to tell you anything. Actually, you do. Because I'm filing a police report for theft. And a civil lawsuit for conversion of property. And when I'm done, everyone in your church, your neighborhood, and your precious social circle is going to know exactly what kind of person you are. The color drained from Patricia's face. You wouldn't. Watch me. Natasha's voice was steady, cold. I have photos of every piece. I have documentation of their value. I have witnesses who knew they were in my safe. And I have David's admission that he gave you the combination. That's conspiracy to commit theft. David? Patricia turned to her son, panic creeping into her voice. David wouldn't meet his mother's eyes. She's right, Mom. You need to give everything back. Everything? Patricia's hand flew to the sapphire necklace. But Jennifer's wedding is over. She wore the emerald bracelet and the diamond earrings. They're hers now. They're mine. Natasha stepped closer. They were never yours to give. Ruth didn't leave them to the Bennett family. She left them to me. Her granddaughter. The girl she raised. The person who actually loved her. I'm sure your grandmother would have wanted you to share. Don't you dare tell me what my grandmother would have wanted. You never knew her. You never even met her because you were too busy looking down on my family to come to her funeral. Tears were streaming down Natasha's face now, hot and furious. You took the only things I had left of her because you thought I didn't deserve them. Because you think I don't deserve your son. Because you've never thought I was good enough. Patricia's mouth opened and closed, no words coming out. I want a list, Natasha said quietly. Every piece. Every person who has them. Every single item Ruth left to me. You have 24 hours to provide that list and start getting my jewelry back. Or I go to the police. She turned and walked toward the door, then stopped. And take off my grandmother's necklace before I take it off you myself. Patricia's hands shook as she reached behind her neck, unfastening the clasp. She held the sapphire pendant out and Natasha snatched it from her fingers. The metal was warm from Patricia's skin. Natasha held it tight, feeling the weight of it, the realness of it. One piece recovered. 14 to go. She walked out of that house with her head high, even as her heart shattered into smaller and smaller pieces. Simone was waiting in the car, eyes wide. Did you get what you needed? Natasha held up the necklace, then pulled out the recording device. Every word. Then let's go finish this. Natasha didn't sleep that night either. She sat at Simone's kitchen table, the sapphire pendant around her neck where it belonged, listening to the recording over and over. Patricia's voice admitting she'd taken the jewelry. Her casual statement about giving pieces to Jennifer. Her entitled belief that marriage meant Natasha's property belonged to the Bennett family. It was all there. Evidence. Proof. Ammunition. At 8 in the morning, David called. I have the list, he said, his voice exhausted. Mom stayed up all night putting it together. Can we meet? They met at the same coffee shop. David looked like he hadn't slept in days, his eyes red-rimmed and hollow. He slid a piece of paper across the table, handwritten in Patricia's precise script. Natasha read it, her heart sinking with each line. Ruby ring, Patricia still has it. Gold locket, Patricia still has it. Pearl necklace, Carol Bennett, borrowed for event. Diamond stud earrings, Jennifer Bennett, wedding gift. Emerald bracelet, Jennifer Bennett, wedding gift. Sapphire pendant returned to Natasha. Gold bangles, set of 3, Patricia still has them. Cameo brooch, given to Patricia's friend Eleanor for her birthday. Silver chain with cross, given to church charity auction. Amber ring, Patricia still has it. Jade earrings, sold at consignment shop for $200. Art Deco watch, Aunt Carol, permanent gift. Garnet necklace, Patricia still has it. Opal ring lost, Patricia doesn't remember where. Antique hair combs, Patricia still has them. Natasha's hands shook so badly she had to set the paper down. She sold pieces? She gave my grandmother's jewelry to strangers? She lost something? Nat, I'm so sorry. Sorry doesn't bring back my grandmother's cross. Sorry doesn't undo your mother giving away family heirlooms to people who had no right to them. Natasha pressed her palms against her eyes. A charity auction, David. She gave Ruth's silver cross to a charity auction. Anyone could have bought it. It's gone. David reached for her hand, but she pulled away. I'll fix this. I swear I'll fix this. How? How do you fix this? She stared at him, this man she'd loved enough to marry. Your mother stole from me. She gave away irreplaceable pieces of my history. And you made it possible. You gave her the key to everything I had left of Grandma Ruth. I know. I know, and I hate myself for it. Tears rolled down David's face. She's my mother. She called crying and said she just needed to borrow a few things, and I didn't think she'd do this. I thought she'd give everything back. That's the problem, David. You didn't think. You chose her over me. You always have. That's not true. Isn't it? Natasha's voice was quiet now, drained. Every holiday we spend at her house because she throws a fit if we don't. Every Sunday she calls to criticize how I keep our home, what I cook, what I wear. And you never defend me. You never tell her to stop. You just say, that's how she is, like that makes it okay. David's face crumbled. What do you want me to do? I want you to help me get my jewelry back. All of it. And then she took a deep breath. Then I need time to figure out if this marriage can survive what you've done. She stood up, taking the list with her. Simone had been waiting outside and came in immediately when she saw Natasha's face. We're going to Rebecca's office, Natasha said. I want that demand letter sent today. By noon, Rebecca had drafted a formal legal demand letter addressed to Patricia Bennett, Jennifer Bennett, Carol Bennett, and Eleanor Hoffman, Patricia's friend. The letter detailed the theft, listed each item, provided photographs and appraisals, and demanded return of all property within 10 business days or face civil and criminal legal action. This is going to create a firestorm, Rebecca warned. These are family members. It's going to get ugly. It's already ugly, Natasha said. Send the letters. The firestorm came faster than expected. By that evening, David was calling nonstop. Patricia was having what he called a breakdown, screaming about how Natasha was trying to destroy the family. Carol had called in tears, saying she'd already worn the pearl necklace to 3 events and considered it a gift. Jennifer was furious, claiming the wedding jewelry had been promised to her by Patricia. Natasha turned off her phone and curled up on Simone's couch, the sapphire pendant still around her neck. 1 piece back. 14 still missing. She thought about Grandma Ruth, about the sacrifices she'd made to build something beautiful and meaningful. Ruth had worked as a seamstress, a house cleaner, a cafeteria worker, whatever it took to keep food on the table and save a little extra. Every piece of jewelry represented months or years of sacrifice. And Patricia had treated it all like costume jewelry from a department store. They're going to fight this, Simone said quietly, sitting beside her. You know that, right? I know. It might get worse before it gets better. I know that too. Natasha touched the sapphire pendant. But Grandma Ruth didn't raise a quitter. She raised a fighter. Simone smiled. Then we fight. The next morning the responses started coming in. Carol's lawyer sent a letter claiming the jewelry had been gifted to her and refusing to return it. Jennifer sent an email saying she'd worn the emerald bracelet and diamond earrings at her wedding and considered them rightfully hers. Eleanor Hoffman claimed she'd donated the cameo brooch to a museum and it was no longer retrievable. Patricia sent nothing. She'd gone silent. Time to escalate, Rebecca said when Natasha showed her the responses. We file a civil suit against all of them for conversion of property. And she paused, her expression serious. We file a police report. This isn't just a family dispute anymore. This is theft of property valued at over $50,000. The number stole Natasha's breath. She'd never had the jewelry appraised for value, only for sentimental worth. Ruth's pieces were old, some antique, many one of a kind. $50,000. A down payment on a house. A car. Years of savings. But to Natasha they were priceless. Do it, she said. File everything. That afternoon, she walked into the police station with Simone and filed a formal report for grand larceny. The officer taking her statement listened carefully, looking at the photos and documentation. This is pretty cut and dried, he said. Your mother-in-law admitted to taking the items? I have a recording. Natasha provided the audio file. And a written list of where everything went in her handwriting. The officer nodded slowly. We'll investigate. But I have to warn you, family theft cases are complicated. Sometimes the DA won't prosecute. Then I sue in civil court. Either way, I get my grandmother's jewelry back. The officer's expression softened. For what it's worth, I hope you do. My grandmother left me her watch when she died. If someone took it, he shook his head. I'd do the same thing you're doing. Natasha left the police station feeling something she hadn't felt in days. Hope. The fight was just beginning. But she wasn't alone anymore. She had Simone. She had Rebecca. She had documentation, evidence, and the law on her side. and she had Grandma Ruth's spirit pushing her forward. News traveled fast in their community. By the end of the week, everyone who attended First Baptist Church knew about the stolen jewelry. Pastor James Monroe called Natasha personally, his deep voice gentle but firm. "Sister Natasha, I heard about what happened with Patricia. I want you to know the church stands with you." Those words broke something open in Natasha's chest. She started crying before she could stop herself. "I didn't want to involve the church," she managed. "This is family business. Child, when someone steals from you, that's everybody's business. Especially when they stole from Ruth's grandbaby. That woman raised half the children in this congregation at one time or another, including my own daughter." Pastor Monroe's voice hardened. "Patricia Bennett has been walking around my church with her nose in the air long enough. It's time somebody reminded her that pride comes before a fall." Natasha wiped her eyes. "I just want my grandmother's jewelry back. And you'll get it. But you need to know you're not fighting alone. Ruth had a lot of people who loved her. A lot of people who remember how she took care of this community. We're going to make sure her legacy is protected." Sunday morning, Natasha walked into First Baptist for the first time since filing the police report. She'd been nervous, worried people would see her as causing family drama. Instead, she was met with hugs, words of support, and more than a few angry comments about Patricia. "That woman got nerve," Sister Crawford muttered, pulling Natasha into an embrace. "Walking around wearing Ruth's things like they belonged to her. Ruth would haunt her if she could." "We're praying for you, baby," Deacon Foster said. "You get those things back, you hear?" Even people Natasha barely knew stopped to offer support. Ruth had touched so many lives, helping young mothers, tutoring children, organizing fundraisers, volunteering at the community center. She'd been the kind of woman who made everyone feel loved and seen. Patricia and David sat in their usual pew, but Patricia looked smaller somehow. Diminished. People who normally greeted her warmly walked right past. The whispers were loud enough to hear. "Stole from her daughter-in-law? Ruth's jewelry, can you imagine? Police report, I heard. What kind of person does something like that?" When Pastor Monroe began his sermon, his eyes found Natasha in the congregation. "Today I want to talk about theft," he said, his voice carrying through the sanctuary. "Not just the theft of property, but the theft of dignity. The theft of legacy. The theft of what rightfully belongs to someone else." The sermon hit like thunder. Pastor Monroe spoke about respecting what others built, honoring the sacrifices of those who came before, and the sin of taking what you didn't earn. He never said Patricia's name. He didn't have to. After service, Natasha's sister Tamara found her in the parking lot. They hadn't spoken in months. Tamara lived across the country, but she'd flown in as soon as she heard what happened. "I can't believe David let this happen," Tamara said, hugging Natasha tight. "I can't believe his mother would do this to you. She never liked me." "That's not an excuse to steal Grandma Ruth's jewelry. Those pieces are family history. Our family history." Tamara's eyes flashed with anger. "What can I do? How can I help?" "Just being here helps." Natasha held her sister close, grateful for the support. "I feel like I'm going crazy sometimes. Like maybe I'm making too big a deal out of this." "You're not. Grandma Ruth left those things to you because she trusted you with her legacy. Patricia had no right." Tamara pulled back, her expression fierce. "We're getting everything back. Whatever it takes." That evening, something unexpected happened. David showed up at Simone's apartment alone, looking wrecked. "Can we talk?" he asked when Natasha answered the door. "Please?" She let him in, against her better judgment. They sat in the living room, Simone discreetly giving them privacy while staying close enough to intervene if needed. "Mom's falling apart," David said quietly. "The church thing, everyone's talking about her. Calling her a thief. She can't show her face anywhere." "Good," Natasha said flatly. "Nat." "No, David. She stole from me. She gave away pieces of my grandmother's legacy like they were nothing. She deserves everything she's getting." I know she does." David's voice broke. "But I can't watch my mother destroy herself. And I can't lose you. You're the best thing that ever happened to me, and I messed it all up." "Yes, you did." They sat in silence for a long moment. "Mom's ready to return the pieces she still has," David said finally. "The ruby ring, the gold locket, the bangles, the amber ring, the garnets, the hair combs. All of it. She'll give it back tomorrow if you'll agree to drop the police report." Natasha's heart jumped, but she forced herself to stay calm. "What about the rest? Jennifer's pieces? Carol's necklace? The things that were sold or given away? I'll handle Jennifer and Aunt Carol. I'll make them return everything." David looked up at her, his eyes desperate. Just please drop the criminal charges. Let me fix this. Why should I trust you? Natasha asked. You already broke my trust once. Because I love you. Because I know I failed you, but I'm trying to make it right. Because, his voice caught. Because I should have protected you from my mother from the very beginning. I should have stood up for you years ago. I should have put you first. And I'm sorry it took something this horrible for me to wake up. Natasha wanted to believe him. Part of her still loved the man she'd married, the man who made her laugh and held her close. But that man had betrayed her in the worst way possible. I need to think, she said. And I need to talk to my lawyer. David nodded. Okay, that's fair. He stood to leave, then turned back. Nat? For what it's worth, Grandma Ruth would be proud of you. The way you're fighting for her legacy. The way you're not backing down. She raised you right. After he left, Natasha called Rebecca and explained the offer. It's up to you, Rebecca said. Legally you're in a strong position. We could push for criminal prosecution. But getting the items back is the priority, right? If David can make that happen, it might be worth considering. And if he can't? If Jennifer and Carol refuse? Then we proceed with the civil suit. And the criminal investigation continues. Rebecca paused. Natasha, this is your decision. What does your gut tell you? Natasha touched the sapphire pendant at her throat. She thought about Grandma Ruth's hands, wrinkled and strong, clasping it around her neck. She thought about all the times Ruth had told her to trust herself, to listen to her own wisdom. I want my grandmother's jewelry back, she said firmly. All of it. I'll give David 2 weeks to return everything. If he doesn't, then we take them all to court, Rebecca finished. I'll draft the terms. That night, Natasha lay in bed thinking about what came next. Part of the jewelry was coming back. Patricia was facing social consequences. The community had rallied around her. But the hardest part was still ahead, deciding whether her marriage could survive this betrayal. David said he loved her, said he wanted to fix things. But love without respect was hollow. And he'd shown her exactly how little he respected her needs when his mother came calling. Those were questions for another day. Right now, she had one focus, bringing Grandma Ruth's jewelry home where it belonged. Patricia showed up at Simone's apartment the following Thursday with a velvet bag clutched in her shaking hands. She looked smaller than Natasha had ever seen her, her usually perfect appearance disheveled. No makeup. Hair pulled back in a simple ponytail. Dark circles under her eyes. I brought what I still have, Patricia said quietly, not meeting Natasha's eyes. Natasha took the bag and emptied it on the kitchen table. The ruby ring. The gold locket. 3 gold bangles. The amber ring. The garnet necklace. The antique hair combs. 7 pieces. Combined with the sapphire pendant, that made 8 recovered out of 15. Where are the rest? Natasha asked, her voice steady despite the emotion churning in her chest. David is working on Jennifer and Carol. They're not being cooperative. Patricia finally looked up, and Natasha saw real shame in her eyes. I'm sorry. I know that doesn't fix anything, but I was wrong. I thought she stopped, swallowed. I thought you didn't deserve these things. I thought you weren't good enough for David, weren't good enough for our family. And I was wrong. Natasha sat down, the weight of the admission settling over her. Why do you hate me so much? I don't hate you. Patricia's voice cracked. I was jealous. Jealous? David loves you in a way he never loved anyone before. He lights up when you walk in a room. He talks about you constantly. And Patricia wiped her eyes. I realized I was losing my son to someone I couldn't control. Someone who didn't need my approval or my money or my social connections. You had your own career, your own strength, your own family history. And I couldn't stand it. The honesty was like a slap. Natasha had expected deflection, excuses, justification. Not this raw confession. So you took my grandmother's jewelry to hurt me? I took it because I wanted to prove you were part of our family now. That what was yours should be ours. But really, Patricia's shoulders shook. Really, I think I wanted to take something from you. Something that made you special. Something that connected you to a legacy I couldn't touch. Natasha looked at the jewelry spread on the table. 7 pieces that represented so much more than metal and stones. They represented Ruth's love, her sacrifices, her determination to leave something beautiful behind. My grandmother grew up in poverty, Natasha said quietly. Her parents were sharecroppers. She wore hand-me-down dresses and shoes with holes in them. But she was determined her granddaughters would have something better. Every piece of this jewelry represents her saying, I matter. My life matters. My family matters. Patricia nodded, tears streaming down her face. I understand that now. I understand what I took from you. Do you? Natasha leaned forward. Because it's not just about the jewelry, Patricia. You made me feel like I didn't belong in my own marriage. Like I wasn't good enough. Like I had to earn the right to be part of your family. And when I wouldn't bend to your will, you punished me by taking the most precious things I owned. I know, and Patricia broke down completely. I'm so sorry. I've been a terrible mother-in-law. A terrible person. And I don't know how to fix what I've done. Natasha sat with that for a long moment. The old her, the peacekeeper who hated conflict, would have rushed to comfort Patricia. Would have said it was okay, they could move past this. But Grandma Ruth hadn't raised a peacekeeper. She'd raised a woman who knew her own worth. You fix it by helping me get the rest of my jewelry back, Natasha said firmly. You call Jennifer and Carol today. You tell them they need to return what they have, or I'm taking them to court. You tell them this isn't negotiable. Patricia nodded quickly. I will. I promise I will. And you fix it by respecting me from now on. By respecting my marriage. By understanding that David chose me, and that choice isn't yours to undermine. Okay. Yes. I will. Patricia stood, looking like she wanted to say more but didn't know how. Thank you. For not pressing charges yet. For giving me a chance to make this right. After Patricia left, Natasha carefully placed each recovered piece in a new safe she'd purchased. 7 pieces. Halfway there. David called that evening. Mom told me she gave you some pieces back. Some. Not all. I know. I'm working on Aunt Carol. She's being stubborn. He paused. Jennifer's a different story. She wore the emerald bracelet and diamond earrings at her wedding. She says they're hers now. They're not hers. They're mine. I know that. But she's refusing to give them back without a fight. David's voice was tight with frustration. I'm going to her house tomorrow to talk to her face to face. If she still refuses, I'll support whatever legal action you want to take. You'll testify against your own cousin? I'll testify to the truth. That mom took jewelry that didn't belong to her and gave it away without permission. That you've been trying to recover your property. That Jennifer knowingly kept stolen items. He took a breath. I know I messed up, Nat. I know I betrayed you. But I'm trying to make it right. Try harder, Natasha said and ended the call. That weekend something shifted. Tamara had stayed in town, and the two sisters spent Saturday going through old photo albums from Grandma Ruth's house. Pictures of Ruth as a young woman, vibrant and beautiful. Pictures of her with their grandfather, both of them laughing. Pictures of Ruth holding baby Natasha, pure love in her eyes. She was so proud of you, Tamara said softly, looking at a photo of Ruth at Natasha's college graduation. She called me crying that day. Said you were everything she'd hoped for. Natasha traced her finger over Ruth's smiling face in the photo. I miss her so much. I know. Me too. Tamara closed the album. But she's still here, you know? In these memories. In the way you're fighting for what matters. In your strength. That night, Natasha dreamed of Grandma Ruth. In the dream, they were sitting in Ruth's tiny kitchen, sunlight streaming through the window. Ruth was making her famous peach cobbler, humming an old gospel song. You doing good, baby girl? Ruth said without turning around. I'm proud of you. Grandma, I don't know what to do about David. Yes, you do. You know exactly what to do. You're just scared to do it. Ruth turned then, her brown eyes warm and knowing. Fear is natural, baby. But don't let it make your decisions. You're stronger than you think. What if I lose everything? You can't lose what's truly yours. And what's truly yours will always find its way back. Ruth smiled. Like my jewelry. Like your self-respect. Like the love you deserve. Natasha woke with tears on her face and clarity in her heart. She knew what she needed to do. Monday morning, she met with Rebecca to discuss the next steps. I want to proceed with the civil suit against Jennifer and Carol. And I want the criminal investigation to continue for Patricia. Are you sure? David's trying to resolve this. David's had his chance. 2 weeks is almost up, and I still don't have 8 pieces of my grandmother's jewelry. It's time to let the legal system do its job. Rebecca nodded. I'll file the paperwork today. By Wednesday, Jennifer and Carol had both been served with legal notices. Jennifer called David screaming. Carol called Patricia crying. The Bennett family was imploding. And Natasha felt nothing but resolve. This wasn't about revenge. This wasn't even about the money. This was about standing up for herself, for Grandma Ruth, for the legacy of strength and dignity that had been passed down through generations of women who refused to be diminished. Patricia had tried to take that away. David had let her. But they'd miscalculated badly. Because Natasha was Ruth's granddaughter. And Ruth's granddaughters didn't break. They fought. The mediation was held in a bland conference room downtown. Natasha sat on one side of the table with Rebecca. Patricia, Jennifer, and Carol sat on the other side with their lawyer and nervous young man who clearly wished he was anywhere else. David sat alone at the end of the table, caught between his wife and his family. The mediator, an older black woman named Mrs. Thompson, reviewed the case files with a stern expression. Then she looked up at Jennifer. "Miss Bennett, you're currently in possession of a diamond earring set and an emerald bracelet that belonged to Mrs. Natasha Bennett. Is that correct?" "They were gifts," Jennifer said defiantly. Her lawyer put a hand on her arm, but she shook it off. "Aunt Patricia gave them to me for my wedding. They're mine." "Mrs. Patricia Bennett," Mrs. Thompson turned to Patricia. "Did you have legal ownership of these items when you gave them to your niece?" Patricia's lawyer started to speak, but Patricia cut him off. "No. They belong to Natasha. I took them without permission." The room went silent. Jennifer's face went pale. "You said they were yours to give," Jennifer whispered. "I lied," Patricia said quietly. "I was angry and jealous and I wanted to hurt Natasha. So I stole her jewelry and gave some pieces to you." "Aunt Patricia." "I'm sorry, Jennifer. But those items need to go back to their rightful owner." Patricia looked at Natasha. "I'm not fighting this anymore. I'm not defending what I did. I was wrong." Carol shifted uncomfortably. "I didn't know the pearl necklace was stolen. Patricia told me it was hers." "But you know now," Rebecca said calmly. "And you've refused to return it. Because I've worn it to 6 different events. Everyone's seen me in it." "How am I supposed to explain?" Carol stopped, realizing how selfish she sounded. Mrs. Thompson's expression was stern. "This isn't about your embarrassment, Mrs. Carol Bennett. This is about stolen property. You have 2 choices: return the necklace voluntarily, or be added to the civil lawsuit as a defendant who knowingly retained stolen goods." Carol's lawyer whispered urgently in her ear. She nodded reluctantly. "Fine. I'll return it. Today," Rebecca added. "You'll return it today before you leave this building." Carol nodded again, pulling the pearl necklace from her purse and placing it on the table. Natasha's breath caught. The pearls glowed softly in the fluorescent light, each one representing months of Ruth's savings. 2 pieces down. 6 to go. "What about the items that were sold or given away?" Mrs. Thompson consulted her notes. "The jade earrings sold at a consignment shop. The silver cross given to a charity auction. The cameo brooch given to Eleanor Hoffman. And an opal ring that was reportedly lost." "I'll buy back the jade earrings," Patricia said. "The consignment shop still has records. I can track them down." "The silver cross is gone," Rebecca said flatly. "The church auction was 3 weeks ago. The buyer is unknown. Mrs. Bennett will accept fair market value in compensation." Patricia nodded. "Whatever it costs." "The cameo brooch was donated to the Historical Society," Patricia's lawyer said. "They've refused to return it, claiming it was a legitimate donation." "Then we sue the Historical Society too," Natasha said coldly. "My grandmother's cameo is not public property." The lawyer winced. "That could take months." "I don't care. That brooch belonged to Ruth's mother. It's over 100 years old. I want it back." "What about the opal ring?" Mrs. Thompson asked. Patricia's face crumpled. "I don't know where it is. I wore it to a dinner party and took it off to wash my hands, and when I came back it was gone. Someone must have taken it or it fell down the drain. I looked everywhere. I'm so sorry." Natasha felt sick. The opal ring had been Ruth's favorite piece, given to her by her mother on her deathbed. A rose gold band with a fire opal that seemed to glow from within. Ruth had worn it every day for 20 years. Gone. "You'll pay full appraised value," Rebecca said firmly. "Plus emotional damages." "Yes. Whatever you want." Jennifer hadn't said anything since Patricia's confession. Now she slowly pulled the emerald bracelet from her wrist and placed it on the table. Then she removed the diamond earrings, her hands shaking. "I didn't know," she said, tears streaming down her face. "Aunt Patricia, I didn't know you stole them. I thought they were yours. I would never have accepted them if I'd known." "I know, sweetheart. This is my fault, not yours." Patricia reached for Jennifer's hand, but Jennifer pulled away. "How could you do this? How could you make me part of this?" "Because I was selfish and cruel. And I'm sorry." Natasha gathered the emerald bracelet and diamond earrings carefully, her heart aching with relief and loss in equal measure. 4 more pieces recovered. 9 total, counting the pearl necklace Carol had just returned. But 6 were still missing. And the opal ring, Ruth's most treasured piece, might be gone forever. Mrs. Thompson reviewed her notes. So we have a path forward for most items. The jade earrings will be located and repurchased by Mrs. Patricia Bennett. The silver cross will be compensated at market value plus emotional damages. The cameo brooch is subject to ongoing legal action against the Historical Society. The opal ring will be compensated at appraised value plus damages. The antique watch given to Carol Bennett. I'll get it back, Carol said quickly. I'll bring it to Natasha's house tomorrow. That leaves 1 item unaccounted for, Mrs. Thompson said. The Art Deco watch. According to the list, this was given to Carol as a permanent gift. Yes, but I'll return it, Carol said again. I said I would. Natasha shook her head. That's the same watch. The antique watch and the Art Deco watch are the same piece. Ruth called it her Art Deco watch, but the inventory lists it as antique. Relief flashed across Carol's face. Oh, thank God. I thought there were 2 watches. The mediation wrapped up with a written agreement. Patricia would pay $15,000 in compensation for the lost and sold items, plus all legal fees. Carol would return the Art Deco watch within 48 hours. Jennifer was cleared of wrongdoing since she'd returned the items. Immediately upon learning they were stolen, the civil suit against Patricia would be put on hold pending full restitution. The criminal investigation would remain open. Mrs. Bennett, Mrs. Thompson said to Natasha as everyone prepared to leave. I want you to know what you're doing takes courage. Too many people let family get away with things like this because they're afraid of conflict. Your grandmother would be proud. Those words sustained Natasha as she walked out of that conference room with 9 recovered pieces of jewelry and the promise of fair compensation for the others. David caught up with her in the parking lot. Nat, wait. Please. She stopped, turning to face him. What? I'm proud of you. The way you handled yourself in there, you were incredible. I shouldn't have had to handle anything, David. This never should have happened. I know. And I know you probably can't forgive me. But I need you to know I'm leaving my mother's house. I'm finding my own place. I'm done letting her control my life. He took a shaky breath. I failed you. I chose her over you over and over again. And I'm going to spend the rest of my life regretting that. Natasha looked at this man she'd married, this man who'd betrayed her trust in the worst way possible. Part of her still loved him. Part of her wanted to believe he could change. But a bigger part, the part that was pure Ruth, knew that love wasn't enough. Not without respect. Not without trust. I need time, she said quietly. I need time to figure out what I want. Who I am without this marriage. Whether I can ever trust you again. That's fair. That's more than fair. David's voice broke. I'll wait. However long it takes. I'll wait. She got in her car and drove away, leaving him standing in the parking lot. The jewelry box on her passenger seat held 9 pieces of Ruth's legacy. 9 pieces returned home where they belonged. But the damage went deeper than missing jewelry. Patricia had cracked something in Natasha's marriage, exposed fault lines that had always been there. David's inability to stand up to his mother. His willingness to sacrifice Natasha's needs for his mother's wants. His fundamental failure to protect his wife. Could that be fixed? Should it be? Natasha didn't know. But for the first time in weeks she felt like she could breathe. Like she was standing on solid ground again. She drove to Tamara's hotel and showed her sister the recovered pieces. They laid them out on the bed, each one shining in the afternoon light. 9 out of 15, Tamara said. That's something. It's not everything. No. But it's a start. Tamara squeezed Natasha's hand. And you fought for these. You didn't let Patricia steamroll you. You stood up for yourself and for Grandma Ruth's legacy. That matters. It did matter. But tonight, alone in Simone's guest room, Natasha let herself cry for what was lost. The opal ring Ruth had loved so much. The silver cross that connected them to faith and history. The innocence of her marriage before she knew her husband could betray her so completely. She cried until there were no tears left. And then she slept, dreamless and exhausted, the jewelry box safe beside her pillow. Tomorrow would bring more challenges. The fight with the Historical Society for the cameo brooch. The search for the jade earrings. The decision about her marriage. But tonight she had 9 pieces of Grandma Ruth back. 9 pieces of history, love, and strength. And that was enough for now. The following week brought surprises. The first came from Pastor Monroe, who called Natasha to his office at the church. "I've been doing some investigating," he said, gesturing for her to sit down. "About that charity auction where your grandmother's silver cross was donated." Natasha's heart jumped. "You found it?" "Better. I found out who bought it." He slid a piece of paper across his desk with a name and phone number. "Sister Evelyn Harris. She's been a member of this church for 40 years. I called her yesterday and explained the situation. She wants to meet with you." Natasha's hands shook as she took the paper. Will she give it back?" "Talk to her yourself." "But Natasha? Evelyn knew your grandmother. I think you'll find she's more understanding than you might expect." Sister Evelyn lived in a small house not far from where Ruth used to live. She answered the door with a warm smile, her white hair pulled back in a neat bun, her brown eyes kind behind wire-rimmed glasses. "Come in, baby. I've been expecting you." The house smelled like cinnamon and old books. Sister Evelyn led Natasha to a living room filled with photos and comfortable furniture that had clearly been loved for decades. "Pastor Monroe told me what happened," Sister Evelyn said, settling into her favorite chair. "That Patricia Bennett stole your grandmother's jewelry. What a disgrace. Ruth was one of the finest women I ever knew." "You knew her?" "Knew her? Child, we were best friends for 30 years. Ruth and I taught Sunday school together, organized fundraisers, took care of each other's children." Sister Evelyn's eyes misted. "I still miss her every single day." Natasha felt tears prick her own eyes. "She never told me about you." "That sounds like Ruth. She kept her own counsel, didn't bother people with her friendships and connections. She just lived her life and loved her people." Sister Evelyn stood up slowly. "Wait here." She disappeared into another room and returned carrying a small wooden box. Inside, nestled in tissue paper, was Ruth's silver cross. "The moment I saw this at the auction, I knew it was Ruth's," Sister Evelyn said softly. "She wore this every Sunday for as long as I knew her. I bid on it thinking I'd keep it safe, maybe find a way to get it to you eventually. I had no idea it was stolen." She placed the cross in Natasha's hands, and Natasha broke down completely. The silver was cool and familiar, the weight of it exactly as she remembered from the times Ruth had let her hold it as a child. I can't pay you back for what you spent at the auction," Natasha managed through her tears. "Baby, I don't want your money. This cross belongs with Ruth's granddaughter. That's where it should have been all along." Sister Evelyn patted Natasha's hand. "Your grandmother loved you more than anything in this world. She used to say you were her proof that she'd done something right in this life, that you turned out strong and smart and kind. I don't feel very strong right now. Strength isn't about not crying or not hurting. It's about getting up every day and fighting for what matters, even when you're tired and scared and heartbroken. You've been doing that, haven't you? Fighting for Ruth's legacy?" Natasha nodded, clutching the cross. "Then you're strong. Just like she was." Sister Evelyn smiled. "Ruth would be so proud of the woman you've become. Never doubt that." Natasha left Sister Evelyn's house with 10 pieces of jewelry recovered and a heart full of unexpected hope. There were still good people in the world. Still people who honored Ruth's memory and understood what family legacy meant. The second surprise came 2 days later when David called with news. "I found the jade earrings." "What? Where?" "The consignment shop Patricia used. They'd already sold them, but they had the buyer's contact information. I explained the situation, and the buyer, she's a college student, she agreed to sell them back to me for what she paid." David's voice was eager, desperate for Natasha to be pleased. "I'm picking them up this afternoon. Can I bring them to you?" Natasha hesitated, then gave him Simone's address. He arrived an hour later with a small box containing the jade earrings, delicate pieces carved in the shape of flowers, passed down from Ruth's great-grandmother in the 1920s. 11 pieces recovered. "Thank you," Natasha said quietly, taking the box. "I'm also working on the Historical Society," David said. "My firm does legal work for them sometimes. I've been putting pressure on their board to return the cameo brooch. They're starting to cave." "Your firm?" "David, you could get in trouble for that." "I don't care. I'm trying to fix what I broke." He met her eyes. "I know I can't undo what happened, but I can at least help get your grandmother's jewelry back." Natasha studied him. He looked thinner, tired, older somehow. The easy confidence he used to carry had been replaced with something more humble, more aware. "Are you really moving out of your mother's house?" "I signed a lease yesterday. 1-bedroom apartment downtown. I'm moving this weekend." He swallowed hard. "I told Mom she needs to get therapy. Deal with her control issues. Figure out why she felt the need to destroy my marriage." What did she say? She cried. Then she agreed. She starts seeing someone next week. David shifted his weight. I know none of this fixes what happened. But I'm trying, Nat. I'm really trying. I see that. Is there any chance? He stopped, shook his head. Never mind. That's not fair to ask. But Natasha knew what he was asking. Is there any chance for us? Can we rebuild what was broken? I don't know, she said honestly. I don't know if I can trust you again, David. I don't know if I can be married to someone who'll choose his mother over me when it matters. I won't. Not ever again. I swear. You swore wedding vows too. And you broke those the moment you gave your mother the combination to my safe. Natasha held up her hand when he tried to speak. I'm not saying never. I'm saying I don't know. I need time to figure out who I am outside of this marriage. Who I am as just me, not as David's wife or Patricia's daughter-in-law. David nodded, tears in his eyes. Okay, I understand. I'll keep trying to recover the jewelry. And I'll give you space. After he left, Simone emerged from her bedroom where she'd been discreetly hiding. He seems different, she observed. He does. But is it real? Or is it just guilt? Natasha set the jade earrings carefully in her jewelry box. I don't know if I can tell the difference anymore. Give it time. You'll know. Simone hugged her friend. You've been through hell. You get to take as long as you need to figure things out. That night, Natasha spread all 11 recovered pieces on the bed. The ruby ring, the gold locket, the pearl necklace, the diamond studs, the emerald bracelet, the sapphire pendant, the gold bangles, the amber ring, the garnet necklace, the hair combs, the silver cross, the jade earrings. For still missing, the cameo brooch, the opal ring, the Art Deco watch, and compensation for the opal ring since it was permanently lost. She picked up her phone and called Tamara. I got 2 more pieces back. Nat, that's amazing. Which ones? The silver cross and the jade earrings. Natasha felt herself smile for the first time in weeks. A woman from Grandma Ruth's church had the cross. She bought it at the auction not knowing it was stolen, and she gave it back to me for free. Said Grandma Ruth would have wanted me to have it. That's beautiful. Tamara's voice was thick with emotion. See? Good people still exist. Yeah, they do. What about David? I heard he helped get the jade earrings back. He's trying. I'll give him that. Natasha lay back on the bed, surrounded by precious pieces of her history. But trying isn't the same as fixed. No, it's not. Tamara paused. But it's a start. Only you can decide if it's enough of a start to build on. After they hung up, Natasha picked up the silver cross and held it to her chest. She could almost feel Grandma Ruth's presence, warm and comforting and proud. 11 pieces back. A husband trying to make amends. A community that supported her. Legal compensation coming for what was lost. It wasn't everything, but it was something. And right now that was enough to keep fighting. 3 weeks later, Natasha stood in the lobby of the Historical Society with Rebecca by her side. After intense legal pressure and the threat of very public embarrassment, the society had agreed to return Ruth's cameo brooch. The curator, a thin white man who looked supremely uncomfortable, brought out the brooch on a velvet cushion like it was a crown jewel. We really thought it was a legitimate donation, he said defensively. Mrs. Bennett presented it very professionally, with paperwork and everything. Forged paperwork, Rebecca said coolly. And you failed to do basic verification. This brooch has been in Natasha's family for over a century. A simple search would have revealed that. The curator had no response to that. He handed the brooch to Natasha with a mumbled apology. Natasha looked down at the cameo, a delicate carving of a woman's profile in ivory against a black background, set in an ornate gold frame. Her great-great-grandmother had worn this pin to her dress in photos from the 1880s. Ruth's grandmother had treasured it. Ruth had cherished it. And now it was back where it belonged. 12 pieces recovered. Thank you, Natasha said quietly, then walked out of that building with her head held high. In the car, she carefully placed the cameo in her jewelry box. Rebecca had been documenting every piece recovered, every conversation, every legal maneuver. Carol's lawyer contacted me, Rebecca said as they drove back to her office. She's bringing the Art Deco watch tomorrow. That'll be 13 pieces. What about the opal ring? Patricia's insurance is cutting a check for the appraised value. $2,500. Rebecca glanced at Natasha. I know that doesn't replace it. No, it doesn't. Natasha touched the jewelry box. Grandma Ruth wore that ring every single day. She'd twist it around her finger when she was thinking. She'd touch it when she was nervous. It was part of her. I'm sorry it's gone. Me too. Back at Simone's apartment, Natasha found an unexpected visitor waiting. David's Aunt Carol, looking nervous and apologetic. I brought the watch, Carol said quickly, pulling a small box from her purse. I'm sorry I fought returning it. I'm sorry for my part in all of this. Natasha opened the box. Inside was Ruth's Art Deco watch, a stunning piece from the 1930s with a rectangular face and delicate gold links. 13 pieces. Thank you, Natasha said. Carol hesitated. I know I don't have any right to ask this, but can you forgive us? Patricia's a mess. She barely leaves her house. She's in therapy, dealing with things she should have dealt with years ago. And Jennifer, she's devastated that she was part of this. She wore stolen jewelry at her wedding. Those photos are ruined for her now. Natasha felt a flicker of something. Not quite sympathy, but understanding. Jennifer had been innocent in this. She hadn't known the jewelry was stolen. Tell Jennifer I don't blame her, Natasha said quietly. She gave everything back as soon as she learned the truth. That took courage. Carol's eyes filled with tears. Thank you. That'll mean a lot to her. She turned to leave, then stopped. Your grandmother was a remarkable woman. The few times I met her, she treated me with such kindness. I should have treated you the same way. I'm sorry I didn't. After Carol left, Natasha sat on the couch and cried. 13 pieces back. 2 lost forever. Compensation coming for the financial loss. The fight was almost over. That evening David called. I heard Aunt Carol brought back the watch. She did. So that's 13 pieces? And the insurance check for the opal ring? Yes. He paused. I know this doesn't fix things between us. But I'm so glad you got most of Grandma Ruth's jewelry back. She'd be proud of how hard you fought. David, can I ask you something? Anything. Why did you really give your mother the combination? What were you thinking? The line was quiet for a long moment. Honestly, I was thinking it would make her happy. She'd been on my case for months about how you were too independent, too focused on your career, not focused enough on family. And I thought if I did this one thing, she'd back off. She'd see you as part of the family. By letting her steal from me? I didn't think of it as stealing. She said borrow. She said she'd return everything after the wedding. And I wanted to believe her because believing her was easier than confronting her. David's voice broke. I was a coward, Nat. I was too scared to stand up to my mother, so I sacrificed you instead. And I'll never forgive myself for that. The honesty hurt. But it was real. Are you really in therapy? Natasha asked. Yeah. Started 2 weeks ago. My therapist says I have trouble setting boundaries with my mother. That I was raised to prioritize her feelings over everyone else's, including my own. He laughed bitterly. Understatement of the century. Good. I'm glad you're working on it. Does that mean, hope crept into his voice, does that mean there's a chance for us? Natasha thought about it. Really thought about it. She thought about the man she'd married, the good times they'd shared, the love that had been real before it got twisted by Patricia's manipulation and David's weakness. She thought about the man he was trying to become, one who could set boundaries, stand up for his wife, choose her over his mother. And she thought about Grandma Ruth, who always said people deserved grace but not at the expense of your own dignity. I don't know, she said honestly. Maybe. But not right now. Right now, I need to focus on me. On healing. On figuring out who I am and what I want. I understand. I'll wait. However long it takes. David, don't wait for me. Live your life. Become the man you're trying to be. And maybe if we're meant to be together, we'll find our way back. But I can't promise that. She could hear him crying on the other end. Okay, I can do that. After they hung up, Natasha felt something shift inside her. A weight lifting. A door closing on one chapter and opening on another. She called tomorrow. I think I'm ready to move back home. To your house with David? No. To my own place. I'm looking at apartments tomorrow. Natasha smiled. It's time to start over. Really start over. I'm proud of you, little sister. Grandma Ruth would be too. That night, Natasha dreamed of Ruth again. They were sitting on Ruth's porch, the old wooden swing creaking gently as they rocked. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of gold and purple. You did good, baby girl, Ruth said, her voice as clear as if she were really there. You fought for what mattered. You stood up for yourself. You didn't let them break you. I got most of your jewelry back, Grandma. Not all of it, but most. The jewelry was never the point, and you know it. Ruth turned to her, eyes twinkling. The point was teaching you to fight for yourself. To know your worth. To understand that you don't have to accept mistreatment just because it comes from family. I'm probably getting divorced. Maybe. Maybe not. That's for you to decide. Ruth took her hand. But whatever you decide, do it because it's what you want. Not because you're scared. Not because you're trying to make everyone else happy. Because you deserve to be happy. I miss you so much. I'm right here. I'll always be right here. Ruth touched Natasha's chest right over her heart. In you. In your strength. In every choice you make to stand tall and demand respect. I didn't leave you jewelry just so you'd have pretty things. I left it so you'd remember where you came from. Who you are. What we survived to give you the life you have now. I remember. I promise I remember. Ruth smiled, and in the dream she looked young again. Vibrant. Full of life and love and hope. Then my job is done. Now go live, baby. Live big and bold and free. Make me proud. Natasha woke with tears on her face, but they weren't sad tears. They were cleansing. Healing. She got up and looked at her jewelry box. 13 pieces of history. 13 pieces of legacy. 13 pieces of strength. And somewhere she knew Grandma Ruth was smiling. 6 months later, Natasha stood in her new apartment, sunlight streaming through the windows. It was small but perfect, just enough space for her, decorated exactly how she wanted it. Modern but warm. Simple but beautiful. Hers. The jewelry box sat on her dresser, all 13 recovered pieces inside. The 14th piece, compensation for the lost opal ring, had gone toward the security deposit on this apartment. Ruth would have approved of that. Using her legacy to build something new. Tamara had flown in for the housewarming party. Simone was in the kitchen making her famous sweet potato pie. A few friends from church were coming over. Sister Evelyn had promised to bring her famous mac and cheese. No one from the Bennett family was invited. Patricia had sent a card last week with a long, rambling apology. She was still in therapy, still working through her issues. David had forwarded it to Natasha with a note. She's trying. I know it doesn't fix anything. He was right. It didn't fix anything. But it was something. David himself had respected Natasha's space. He'd moved into his apartment, stayed in therapy, and sent occasional texts just to check in. Never pressure. Never demands. Just gentle reminders that he was there if she ever wanted to talk. They'd signed separation papers. Not divorce, not yet. But legal separation that gave Natasha room to breathe, to heal, to figure out what she wanted. And what she wanted, she was discovering, was herself. She'd gotten a promotion at work, something she'd been too distracted to pursue before. She'd started taking a pottery class on weekends. She'd reconnected with old friends she'd lost touch with during her marriage. She'd laughed more in the past 6 months than she had in the past 2 years. The doorbell rang. Sister Evelyn arrived with a huge dish of mac and cheese and a warm hug. Look at you, the older woman said, beaming. Ruth would be so proud. Starting fresh. Standing strong. Living your truth. More friends arrived. The apartment filled with laughter, food, conversation, music. These were her people, the ones who'd supported her through the hardest months of her life. The ones who'd never asked her to be anything other than herself. Halfway through the party, Natasha found herself standing alone in her bedroom, looking at the jewelry box. She opened it and carefully took out each piece, laying them on her bed the way she had so many times before. 13 pieces. 13 stories. 13 reminders of where she came from. She picked up the ruby ring, Ruth's wedding band. Then the sapphire pendant Ruth gave her at graduation. She put them both on, feeling their weight, their significance. Thank you, Grandma, she whispered. Thank you for teaching me to fight. Thank you for giving me something worth fighting for. Her phone buzzed. A text from David. I saw on Instagram that today's your housewarming. I hope it's wonderful. You deserve wonderful. Natasha stared at the text for a long moment. Then she typed back, thank you. How are you? Better. Growing. Learning who I am without my mother pulling the strings. It's hard but good. I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you too. You're the strongest person I know. She set the phone down without responding. Maybe someday they'd find their way back to each other. Maybe David would become the man he was trying to be, and she'd be ready to trust him again. Or maybe not. Maybe this separation would turn into divorce, and they'd both move on to other people, other lives. Right now she didn't know. And for the first time in her adult life, she was okay with not knowing. Back in the living room, Simone called for everyone's attention. I'd like to make a toast, she said, raising her glass. To Natasha, the bravest woman I know. You fought for what mattered. You stood up when it would have been easier to back down. You honored your grandmother's legacy by refusing to let anyone diminish you. To new beginnings. To new beginnings, everyone echoed, raising their glasses. Natasha felt tears prick her eyes, but they were happy tears. Healing tears. Sister Evelyn caught her eye and nodded, a small smile on her face. In that moment, Natasha felt Ruth's presence so strongly it was like she was standing right there. The party continued late into the evening. As people started to leave, each one hugged Natasha and told her how proud they were, how strong she was, how much they loved her. After everyone had gone except Tamara and Simone, the three women sat on Natasha's new couch, exhausted but happy. You did it, Tamara said quietly. You really did it. You got through the worst and came out the other side. We got through it, Natasha corrected. I couldn't have done any of this without you too. That's what family is for, Simone said. The family you choose. They sat in comfortable silence for a while, just being together. Finally, Tamara stood to leave. I've got an early flight tomorrow. But Nat, I'm so proud of you. And I know Grandma Ruth is too. After Tamara left, Simone helped Natasha clean up the apartment. As they worked, Natasha's phone buzzed again. Another text from David. I know you're probably busy, but I wanted to tell you something. My therapist helped me write a letter to Mom, setting clear boundaries. I sent it today. Told her she needs to respect my choices, respect you, or she won't be part of my life. It's the first time I've ever done anything like that. Natasha read it twice, then showed it to Simone. What do you think? She asked. I think he's trying. Really trying. Simone squeezed her shoulder. Whether that's enough is up to you. But it's something. After Simone left, Natasha stood at her window looking out at the city lights. Somewhere out there, David was in his own apartment trying to become a better man. Patricia was in therapy facing her demons. Jennifer was moving on with her married life. The Bennett family was fractured but maybe finally starting to heal. And Natasha was here in her own space with her own life, wearing her grandmother's jewelry and carrying her grandmother's strength. She went to her bedroom and opened the jewelry box one more time. She picked up each piece, remembering the stories Ruth had told about them. The sacrifices, the love, the determination to leave something beautiful behind. Then she did something she'd never done before. She wrote down every story, exactly as Ruth had told them to her. The history of each piece. The people who'd worn them. The moments they'd witnessed. She wrote until her hand cramped, until she'd captured every memory she could recall. When she finished, she had 10 pages of family history, Ruth's words in Natasha's handwriting. She put the pages in the jewelry box with the pieces, creating a complete legacy. History and heart together. Someday if she had a daughter, she'd pass this on. The jewelry and the stories. The strength and the wisdom. The knowledge that their family had survived poverty, racism, heartbreak, and betrayal and came out the other side with dignity intact. But even if she never had children, the legacy was safe. Because Natasha carried it in her bones now. The understanding that she deserved respect. That she had the right to fight for what mattered. That love without dignity was hollow. These were the real gifts Grandma Ruth had left her. The jewelry was just a reminder. Natasha got ready for bed, placing the jewelry box back on her dresser. As she turned off the light, she felt at peace for the first time in months. She'd lost pieces of her grandmother's collection. But she'd found something more valuable, herself. And that was a legacy worth more than all the jewels in the world.